Hello, hello. There's nobody at the moment, but let me just warm up my voice. So, warming up, warming up, warming up, warming up my voice. Stream has started now. Hello.
Hello.
I just started the stream, so people can join now.
I will make the lobby in the moment.
Yep.
Yep.
Right now,
get
your
the-
voices can be heard on the live stream. So just so you know.
So that's
You
fine.
mean my?
Yes, since I'm in the voice chat and it gets recorded as well. I don't think I'm gonna stay in the voice chat too long. I just wanted to hop on and say.
I hear myself.
Don't forget to put the myth DEID and yeah.
What's the lobby code right now?
Okay.
All right.
I wish there was an option to play the sound of a game in the background. Because as soon as I alt tab, it's just no sound of the game anymore. So no music, no nothing.
So we're just waiting for Zooked.
Yep. I noticed that. Well, I read that he has his emotional support pizza coming.
Hello.
Hello.
I didn't tell you I can't invite you, but the lobby code is right now in the lobby. On the channel.
And as always, I just cannot find it until it started, I think.
Hold on. Discord isn't giving me any sound. Now it should.
Okay. It made me
Yo,
join.
yeah.
As soon as the game starts, I'm gonna exit the voice chat and just speak on stream.
Yeah, sure.
So this is Schooner Dark Soul versus me and Edge Crusher, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's a best of 5, right? For the losers final
No.
as well.
Is that the best of 5?
Yeah, it's the best of 5.
Wait a minute. So we, if you win this, we play another best of 5.
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
Oh damn!
It's okay. You won't win.
I thought that was a best of 3.
Don't worry, you're not winning. It's fine.
Don't worry. Don't worry. We will win. We will win.
The issue is game 4. If we get there in this series, is the Great Wall match,
Yes.
which should be a little bit of a pain.
It's gonna be a
Don't be mad if you lose.
game 4 is gonna be quite something. Like I think it's gonna be fast mythic, pretty certainly 3TC fast mythic, something like that.
Is the Great Wall map like some sort of Black Forest kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a giant wall that splits it entirely in half. You can
And
destroy the wall. It's
The wall has 4000 HP and 95% everything armor, so it's a long while to destroy.
Crush 2?
Yes, Crush as well.
Oh my god.
And
That's
so,
quite Wall.
like, side builds with playing units and Baroque and those sort of things are gonna be quite strong.
We practiced it against Lukey, and he had the Underworld, which
Yep.
was, you know, he tried to play with that. That was.
I just did some practice as well, so I have a few things in mind, but I'm not gonna tell anyone.
I'm halfway through my pizza, by the way, so I'm probably ready to play in like 10, 15 minutes.
Sounds good.
Oh, it's a good one. That's a
What is
good
it?
pizza.
Digga, Michi, die Runde jetzt schon ist ein Best of 5, ne? Weil es das Halbfinale ist.
Ja, das habe ich dich ja vorher gefragt und du hast gesagt 3.
Ich bin davon ausgegangen. Ich wusste es selber nicht.
Ja.
Deswegen war ich ja gerade so ein bisschen sprachlos. Bedimmt.
Ich bin jetzt gerade reingekommen. Ich habe nur gehört, hey Michi, das ist ein Best of 5.
Man, you talk so much quicker now that you're not stoned and drunk.
But don't worry, Michi. You lost 0-3 against us. Don't worry.
No, I'm not that drunk like yesterday. I'm sorry about yesterday.
No, it was hilarious. It's fine.
But I'm a little bit drunk today. Not drunk, but you know
Yes,
what I mean. So we changed the sides.
Alright.
Yeah, like I said yesterday, I'm on my vacation and who cares about it?
No, we had a good time.
By the way, for anyone who came into the voice chat after I came in, your voices are heard on stream, just so you know.
Okay.
Our voices are heard on stream.
Yeah.
Streaming on YouTube.
Streamed on YouTube at the moment.
Well, in that
Yeah.
case, hello,
Hello.
internet.
But just when you're in the chat with us or later than not. But I also will stream it live on Twitch if it's okay for you.
That's fine. Fine.
If you stream it as a player,
A little bit delay.
yeah,
Yeah,
3 minutes delay should be enough. That's what I did yesterday.
Yeah, you make it in the lobby or?
So you make
On
it
your
both
stream,
in the
you
lobby
need to make
and
it
in
in your
the
stream.
stream.
Okay, I don't know how I make this.
I don't see the stream, by the way.
I'm not
Okay.
online. But
You
I
may,
don't know how
du,
to make the delay.
du machst das übers Dashboard.
Weißt du, wo genau?
If you use OBS, I
Ja,
can
warte, ich
show
schau
you
noch
where
mal,
to
was
put
da
the
war.
delay.
Show him. Then I don't need to look.
I just sent you a screenshot in the text channel.
Settings.
Things advanced.
Advanced and then
The options all good.
Streamverzögerung, stream delay 3 minutes. That are 180 seconds. Activate. Okay, I did it.
Hello, Christian S from the chat. Are you someone I know from the Discord with another name, or are you someone I don't know? I see that Zucht still isn't in the lobby. No.
Yeah, I'm still eating.
Okay.
I'm almost ready.
Okay. Hello, Cancer Demi. Not sure I pronounced that right. Yep. Let's go. It's just gonna be a few minutes.
No, I'm sorry. I was
That's
not
okay.
really thinking about the time too well. So
That's
I
okay.
left
That's okay.
a bit late.
It's fine. It's fine. What toppings are on your pizza?
Oh, it's terrible. It's the worst. It's a tuna
Oh.
pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Tuna and mozzarella. And a bit of onion and capers. It's
Okay,
good.
it's good enough pizza.
Wenn das nicht funktioniert, Michi, kannst du es auch über Twitch einstellen.
Okay, ja, ich habe jetzt den Delay eingestellt. Also erst, so wie das aussieht, ist es einfach die Verzögerung, bis das der Stream startet, wenn das Bild,
Ja.
also wenn du jetzt dann live bist.
Das ist auch.
Das ist nicht das, was wir wollten, glaube ich.
Doch, doch. Dann bist du ja eh 3 Minuten behind.
Ist es nicht das Start-Delay?
Ja, und ab da, wo du halt eingesprochen hast, nimmt es halt auf, ab dem du gestartet hast und 3 Minuten verzögert.
Also alles, was wir jetzt schon quatschen, hören die dann.
Basically.
Wo meinst du, dass ich sonst noch umstellen kann?
Auf Twitch direkt. Warte, ich schau mal kurz.
Are we starting now or waiting for something?
Waiting of your teammate. He eats a pizza right now.
Ah, the pizza is topping.
Ein Moment, bitte.
How much of a pizza is left?
That's apparently a really big one because it's taking me a long time to consume. Well, I'm starting the last piece of the pizza right
Okay.
now. The countdown is almost finished.
On YouTube, you're live like 3 seconds delay.
Do I have 3 seconds of delay? Maybe.
On the YouTube stream. Just watching it, and it's not really a hard delay.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna be spectating the game, so I'm gonna, like, if the lobby has been set properly, there should be 3 minutes delay.
Mate, the cast will be on YouTube after this, or it's deleted?
It's gonna be on YouTube as a VOD about.
Alright, lovely. That I can go watch it after this.
Yes.
How many slices of pizza are left sucked?
He
I
says
just
one.
put the whole
for 5
flat
minutes.
slice into my mouth, as you can hear.
Hello, DAG Esports from the chat. Welcome, welcome.
What should I drink now?
Peach juice from the Peach Blossom Spring.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Okay. We've already sent the lobby link and all that, so I think we're set.
Yep.
Yeah. That is always the same lobby code. But I can send it again if you want.
No, it's fine. You sent it.
Everyone's
yeah.
here.
So, now we can start?
Yes, you can start.
Yep.
And I will go out of the voice chat. See you later, folks.
See you later.
Later.
Okay, so game is about to start, and I'm gonna do a little summary of what's going on when it starts. Should find the lobby in a second or two. Okay. Yeah. I wish this could get fixed someday. Yes, I know that the game has already started. I want to spectate it. The map should be Bamboo Grove 4v4. This is the one. There we go. Okay, looks like I have just enough delay, I think. So, hello. I am Matilda. I'm gonna be your caster for today for this losers finals from the DoD DAG tournament that we organized between us. So this is a mixed teams 2v2 tournament. So we have one player from the DoD clan and one player from the DAG clan in every team. Yesterday we played the playoffs, I suppose is a word for it. I have played in the tournament and I will play in the finals after this series. But for now, this is what's going on. So we have our tournament, which is gonna be like the map pool is entirely Chinese maps, so it's a Chinese edition, so to speak, sort of tournament. Game 1 is always gonna be Bamboo Grove, as you can see right now. Game 2 is gonna be Steppe. Game 3 is gonna be Silk Road. Game 4 is gonna be Great Wall. If we get to Game 4, since these losers finals and grand finals are gonna be best of 5. And game 5 would be a random choice between the Shanghai Lake, Peach Blossom Spring, and Yellow River maps. So we might or might not see any water maps today. So for the choice of gods, the players can choose anything they want. They can repeat them even if they lose, even if they win. There's just no bans, no nothing. So one-trick ponies are quite welcome to come here. Well, are quite welcome. Are gonna have a very good shot at winning, provided they can play their one god very well. So our two teams for this losers finals is Zooked from the DoD clan and Edge Crusher from DAG, facing up versus the Dark Soul from the DAG clan and Skirnir from DoD. So let's go over each player one by one. I'm gonna figure out my keybinds a little. I'm not used to beating team games. So here we have Zooked, who likes to play his Atlantean, playing with Chronos, so we might see potentially a Chronos Rush, who knows? Maybe versus Skirnir, who's playing as Northwind, and North Owl is quite vulnerable to the Chronos Rush. Then we have his teammate Edge Crusher playing Shenmong. We've seen quite a bit of Chinese, at least of the games that I've seen on this tournament, so it's fair to say that anything's on the table. On the opposite team we have Skirnir playing as Freya. So I'm not too sure what we're gonna see, maybe a second TC, maybe not. Probably a forward look and heliport, or at least one to secure maybe a hunt, a gold mine. Probably more so in the center, perhaps to secure a town center and a gold mine. And then our last player is the Dark Soul from the DAG clan, who is Skirnir's teammate. And we are set and ready to go now, so as expected, here is a Chronos Rush from Zooked. He's gonna be hitting, I suppose, Skirnir on his food first. I think it's quite wise to put the temple on the left of the base here, because if it were to be on the middle, it would be much closer to the Dark Souls, who could help quite a bit faster. So this is a double, like a team attack from Edgecrusher and Zook, who are both rushing Skirner. So, okay. Just a few seconds until the other ones get to classical age. Looks like about 10 seconds for Skirner. And about 2 seconds for Zook. I'd quite like to have the map set on not revealed so that I can see what the players see, but I will not hesitate to go back to this to spot a few things that I might not anticipate. Hello, Theo from the chat. Energetic, also known as Energetic. Hello, N. Cholet. Oh, this is Dagon. Hello, Dagon. Yes, there we go, finally. So, a little more about trading. I think that's not dead yet, sir, thankfully. Or thankfully. Thankfully for Edgecrusher, that is. We can see that the Dark Soul is taking a town center in the back. He's quite safe to do so at the moment, since all the action is going on in Scania space. We did see one of the Yatsu die. I don't think there's been too much damage done thanks to the Sentinels and to the Ursa. Especially since Zook aged up quite late when it comes to a finish. For the moment, we don't see any TC from Zook or Edgecrusher, so they might go full aggro, maybe. Let's go back to what the players see. There's still a bit of action going on here. We are just about to scout that the TC is going up, I think. Yep, okay, so Team Zook Edgecrusher knows about this now. There's an Oracle in the corner there. Okay, so this is the button I click to see the resources that the players have. Looks to me like Zook is going to go for a TC of his own with that macro. He's about to get some idle time. He could avoid that. That is gonna hurt, I think. Not too much, but it might be noticeable. Okay, so we see a wall there from Skirner to protect his corner. I would like to see him scout that back area so that he can actually protect himself. At the moment, it looks like Skirner and the Dark Souls has pretty much no idea if the opponents have went for a second TC themselves. Like, they know it's not going to be one of those two TCs, but they don't know about the back TCs. Okay, so Zook has taken this semi-forward TC, maybe not forward isn't the right word, but between the two of them. I always find this TC to be quite interesting in team games on Rainbow Grove, since it kind of allows you to secure and control the area between you and your teammates. And so if you have like your military forward here, it's quite easy to come left and right to defend yourself or to defend your friend. So we are not seeing the Dark Soul and Skirner go for that at the moment. This is best of 5, Christian S. And hello, Vladislav. You should teach me how to pronounce that someday. I'm not sure I got it right. Our goats, Daphnax, Big Gaia, and Joyan. Okay, so from what I've seen so far, there was this early aggression with the rushes, which is about to start again. But for the most part, there's no all-ins from either side at the moment, not that I can see. With that macro, I suppose that Edgecrusher is about to start edging up very soon, potentially, probably not going to a second TC after that thing, but Golden Come, although he might just change it around at the moment. So, actually went for a third TC, which is quite interesting. That is a very, very vulnerable Oracle.
Skipan? Yeah?
As soon as Kerner notices, I think he's gonna turn around and shank the guy. That's an interesting market placement. Make a wall, I suppose. It looks to me like Zooked and Edge Pressure are gonna be way ahead in economy at the moment. Especially with a second forward TC for Edge Pressure. And with Zooked's 3 TC against 3 TC from the Dark Soul and 1 from Kerner so far. So a little bit of nothing really. One villager kill is a bit unexpected, but Kerner was able to spot this in time. And this Oracle is indeed gonna die, which is not such a good trade with the Promethean and the Oracle for one villager. But the longer the game goes, the better it's gonna be. Yes, I think he was a bit late to make the Prometheans. Like, he could have had 3 or 4 out by the time he got spotted. Or like, in the temple ready to come out. So that was a bit of a bummer. I'm happy to see that Skirner has scouted this in the corner. Edge Crusher is moving out on a hand phase there, which would be quite vulnerable to a raid potentially if Skirner thinks of going around this side. And likewise, the Dark Souls villagers here are quite vulnerable from a raid from either Zooked or Edge Crusher. I think we're gonna see a town center get dropped. Potentially. Looking at that macro. Well, those resources definitely went somewhere. But I'm not seeing any town center right now. Maybe it has a kill fort somewhere. Okay, so Underworld Passage. That's a dead town center. Although luckily Zook was able to escape with his citizens. So, assuming that all the citizens came out from that town center, this is not such a big loss. It just cuts off his villager production to some extent, but in terms of economy he didn't lose all those people, it's just a bit of working time. So if this doesn't get out of hand, they're gonna be okay. This is gonna hurt. I think we're about to see this town center get destroyed as well. Edge Crusher arriving on the scene. Now this is pretty bad for Zook. Losing a few citizens now. Edge Crusher just doesn't have a military to defend. I think the game is in the hands of the Dark Soul and Skirner for a win now. Done sufficient amounts of damage, but even if they can't close the game right now, they're likely to just have enough momentum to keep going. Although, as we've noted before, Zook and Edge Crusher have been ahead in economy for a bit now, so I wouldn't call the game a fight right now, but depending on how this ends and how this continues, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Dark Soul and Skirner win here. See that Skirner went for a town center in the back. The good old one berserk will be enough and it will come up when it will come up. If we take a look at what's going on around here, not too much really. Zook has his citizens right here. Those ones are very vulnerable. He could move them out. Yes. Especially since there's reinforcements coming, and I don't think they're going to be able to hold this, if this keeps going like that at least. There's reinforcements coming from the bottom, from the Noble Passage as well. Zook is now without even a single TC. And yeah. Looks like they were a bit too greedy and not prepared for something a bit fancy like another wild punch. I agree too. They played really well, defended very simply and easily at the start, and then committed to their other wild push, which has been paying off quite heavily now. There's more citizens dying over here. These guys are very vulnerable, and I might get found pretty soon. I'm not really sure what Zook can do at this point, except maybe drop another town center. That's a lot of wood. He could sell that wood at the market. The rates are actually very good on the wood at the moment. I don't see any more TCs, but I think that's quite okay. Both Productson and Skirner know how far ahead they are now, and it's just about committing to that push and continuing. Because if I were to run down and stop the aggression and just take a town center or something, that would give our opponents enough time to maybe come up with something. I'm learning a bit of DoD lore from the chat. Apparently, Darknox was invited into DoD by Skirner. So, yeah. I'm expecting the Zook and Edge Crusher team to surrender at any minute now. Hello, Cody H. Might I ask who is posting the Deities of Death channel in the chat? Since it's obviously not me, posting at the moment. So, if anything, I'm thinking this is a pretty convincing sort of proof that maybe not 1 TC aggro, especially in team game, but like 1 TC for one player and 2 TC for the other player. Bring it to aggro is quite strong and can actually defeat 2 or 3 TC both. So, despite it being the fortifications patch, it's not exactly the no aggro patch, which is good to see, especially since they had a good enough timing that there were no fortresses or barlays around to shoot down the attack. So that was quite good. Hello, Godshark. Okay, it's good to know that you're back. There we go. Edge Crusher and Zook just surrendered. I'm gonna take a little look at this post game. So Zook definitely suffered the most. Skirner did the most damage, looks like, in terms of units. And quite interestingly, Dark Soul ended up being the one to gather the most resources, despite being on 2 TC versus 3 for Zook, and at minimum 2, I think, for for Edge Crusher, which is a testament to how much damage they did. Most villager kills is Skirner with 34, Dark Soul with 10. Unit skill is also Skirner by I'm about to say a big margin, but no, it's just 1. But their team has a big margin over the other team. Based is the Dark Soul, whose Cyclops did put in quite a bit of work. Skirner and Zook never got to Harry Cage. The Dark Soul was quite fast to get there. And in terms of economy, this is what we saw before. Most gold and food is from the Dark Soul, and overall he got the most resources. He was also the most, well, not the most ahead in villagers. Zook I never know if this counts the number of civilian pop or the number of actual villages. Like citizens would be half that. So that's interesting. We take a look at the military resource value. Well, as expected, Edgekrusher and Zugt crashed. Well, they already had less to start with, but then they crashed after that underworld push, and Skirner and the Dark Soul basically didn't really lose anything, it just kept going up, or whatever they lost they were replacing in real time. So that was a pretty convincing victory there. And it's very interesting to see how Zugt was headed for a complete boom, maybe all the way up there, like if you fast forward a few minutes, but then he was hit so hard that he ended up falling behind the Dark Soul by the end, which is, as I said, a testament to the damage they did. Okay, I have the ID for the game number 2, so we're gonna look for that now. I know what the game is for, thank you very much. It should be on the map step. I didn't quite look at the score. That looks like I guess you could have seen it on the side, and if you rewind on YouTube, you should be able to see it. Has the game started yet? Quite nice seeing the graphs indeed. I have noticed that quite a few casters just don't spend too much time on the post-game. And even if I'm not usually a player who spends too much time on the post-game, I know that there's people out there who really like their map. So I'm quite happy to spend some time on it. Okay, now I know the game has started. We'll run the Dark Soul. This is the one. So, this is our game number 2. Once again, the Dark Soul versus Skirner. Well, the Dark Soul and Skirner versus Edgekrusher and Zugt. The second game in this best of 5 series. We are fresh on the tail of a win from the Dark Soul and Skirner on game 1. And now this is the map Step, following the map Bamboo Grove that we had for game 1. Now it's going to be a much more, well, Bamboo Grove is somewhat open, but this one is very much completely open, with most of the resources being on the sides and behind the players' bases. So, for the choice of gods, so now we see that Zugt for gold is Atlantean to go for Odin instead. Edgekrusher switched from Shenong to Nuwa, so still quite Chinese orientated. Skirner was playing fair, now went for Odin as well, so we have a mirror there, at least in part. And the Dark Soul stays with his Hades. So I would suspect that Edgekrusher and Zugt are gonna be ready for a double sort of idea now, and so they're not gonna be quite as easily caught off guard as in game 1. Let's take a look at the relics on the map. We've got the Feather of Bifang here, which is a very nice relic. I always like to grab it when I can. So, human soldiers who have a multiplier of 1.2, so like plus 0.2 out of their 1x multiplier versus buildings. It does have the Iron Ball, which I think either of these Odin players are gonna want to get as soon as possible, potentially Noah as well. So cavalry hit points plus 10%. And in this patch, since the fortifications update, all relics now give plus 0.01 favor per second to whoever has it in their temple. So even the less appropriate relics, so to speak, are still quite valuable now. Here in this corner we have the Dwarven Calipers. Siege would... Now, the cost of siege in every resource from food would favor goes down by 20%. And there's that favor trickle rate as well. Down here we have a blanket of the Empress Zoe, which reduces the crush vulnerability of buildings by 15%, which is quite a big buff in this fortifications update compared to the previous patch, since now buildings have the same crush armor as they did before, but every siege unit, including siege myth units in the game, has seen its crush damage increase by quite a substantial amount. So it's going to be 15% less vulnerability out of incoming damage. That's a bigger number, so it's going to be a bigger number that's removed as well. And here in this corner we have a text of Imhotep with build time for buildings going down by 10%. I think I should slow down my rate of speaking a little. I'm not used to doing this, but I think I'm gonna learn pretty quick. On this side, between Edgepressure and Zukt, we have Pentorus Box, with the Myth unit costing 15% less favor. And I think this is the last relic, the Hammer of Achilles, minus 5% vulnerability to hack or infantry. I'm gonna go back to the player's point of view. We can see what they see. I think, yes, Edgepressure is headed for some potential raiding, at the very least scouting with his Changchi. He's going for a second TC right away. I think he's quite safe to take it with a single Quafu here, because obviously neither of the other players has aged up yet, so there's no delaying possible. And then he drops the Clay Peasants anyway to speed it up. Zukt is a few seconds away from edging up with Freya, so we're gonna see a Forest Fire, Valkyries, and those sorts of things. Maybe even some classical Age Godi, who knows? And on the other side we have Skurner, who is a bit late to age up, who's gonna age up in a few seconds as well, also with Freya, so quite a mirror matchup there. Yes, if he only has two answers, he's going to fetch the Iron Ball, which the other team doesn't know about, interestingly. And then Productful aged up with Ares once again, so we might see a Cyclops push of some sort for a second time. So we see the Sentinels being dropped down to protect from this Valkyrie, but Villager kill has still been had. Back on this other side, Edgepressure has put down his Earthwall, defend his base. With this Zukt moving ahead on the map to grab his hunt. He's gonna need a bit more troops than that to defend it if he gets attacked, but I see that he's training units. And so for now, there's only Edgepressure who went for a second TC, and everyone else has stayed on one TC. Which is not too surprising for the Norths. With so few builders to start the game with, they are very vulnerable to being denied a second town center. I see that the Hasa dropped one of two relics here. Either one of those into Dark Souls Temple. And we see the Dark Soul pumping out units. Quite a bunch of and a few fights. It looks to me like they're both gearing up for some sort of maybe not quite an all-in, but definitely some classical age aggression. Or potentially, as soon as they hit heroic age, they've got power back, potentially. Zukt is still searching for damage here and there. He's not finding too much at the moment. As he's a very vulnerable pioneer, but it looks like Skarner didn't spot it. Not in time to go after it, so that's quite lucky for edge pressure. Enough thing is the longer Skarner and the Dark Soul take to prepare, the longer they give to Edgecrusher to get ahead in eco and pay back his town center and pay back his working time, his building time and so on, until eventually he can just be ahead of them. Speaking of aggression, we don't see any player going for the heroic age at the moment. At least no one has prepared it or started it. Okay, so looks like Zukt is in for a bad time. Skarner is going for him, and so is the Dark Soul. And this is what I was afraid of with his villagers. That is gonna hurt very much for Zukt. And Zukt's army was very much out of position. Not ready to defend those guys, not even to buy a bit of time for villagers to retreat. There's no towers here, this is very bad for Zukt. Now, even if there were towers, which there's gonna be soon, it won't matter for another 60 seconds. There are 3 Elder Cyclops, not pushing down on the TC right now, attacking a Fencer for some reason. This is very, very bad for Zukt, who is down to 8 villagers at 9 minutes into the game. 2 villagers now. Down to 1 dwarf. Down to nothing. And he doesn't even have the food to start another gatherer. Only dwarves. But yep, we know who won this game now. It's quite interesting how they went from a heroic age underworld passage sort of idea straight into a classical age push. And I think they were expecting Edgecrusher and Zukt to be prepared for an underworld push, and kind of banked on the possibility that they would not be prepared for a classical age push, which turned out to be a quite correct assumption. And so they get a win for game number 2 in less than 10 minutes. Okay, so looking at the first game now. The Dark Soul once again did the most kills. Edgecrusher this time did get the most resources, but that was not enough to really do anything. And so looking at the timeline, total military resource value, well, this is what we saw, but put into numbers now. Resources collected, yeah, Zukt basically collected nothing from that point on. This is, I think that was first TC at about 5 minutes, and then the game ended at around 10 minutes. So I don't even think that TC had paid itself off at that point, which is quite something. I haven't seen those sorts of graphs very often, where villagers drop down to 0. Considering economy, I mean, there's not too much to see here in such a short game. So the Dark Soul got the most villager kills and unit skill, and Skarner was number 2 on both of those. Nobody even made it to Heroic Age. And this is about it. Now on to game number 3, which is going to be on Silk Road, and which is going to be game point. Thanks for posting the ID in the chat, virtual, but as you can see when I put it in the browser, it just says game full and failed to join game. And if I search for the game in browse games, it just doesn't find anything. Oh, okay. Okay, I have to press game URL there. I know how to use this now. Next time. Discovering stuff live on stream. So Dagon, what's going on is that this is the losers final, and so the winners bracket will play today. So it's gonna be the winners finalists, which is Isomato and me, versus whoever between these two teams wins. And so it's gonna be the winners of the losers versus the winners of the winners playing in the grand finals. And so we're gonna see that just after this series. Perhaps we're gonna take about 10 minutes to take a break in between. I definitely know that I'm gonna be ending the stream and restarting it with 3 minutes of delay because I'm gonna be streaming my point of view like I did yesterday. So that will be without commentary. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hello, game. Oh, come on. I hope I won't have to restart the damn thing. I will have to restart my game, and yep, I'm gonna see you guys in a... Well, the stream isn't gonna end, but the game is gonna be up for a minute or 2 or 3. On the other hand, that means we can get a few minutes of delay in game, but nobody can stream snipe, although nobody's gonna be doing that today. It's just like on principle, I kind of like the idea of a play of just imitating the big tournaments just for fun. Okay, so my game has started again. But I still cannot search for anything. Okay, there we go now. The game is gonna show up on stream in a few seconds. It should at the very least. I think OBS only refreshes its sources every few minutes. I'm just gonna... How do I refresh a source instantly? Okay, there we go. We should have an image again now. I had just paused the game for a second and now we are back to it. Okay, so game number 3 now. I see that Pioneer, or was it a priest? It was a priest from Zucht has just been bolted. So, welcome to game 3 of the DAG DoD Tournament. So this is game point for the DAG Tournament and Skerner's team, which are leading 2-0 to Etruria and Zucht. So Zucht is playing set now, after throwing things out with Odin in the previous game and with Kronos in the first one. Etruria has moved on from Shenong and Nuwa into 4 now. And on the other side, the Dark Soul played Hades on the first 2 games and now plays Zeus, while Skerner plays Odin for a second time. And he was playing Freya for game 1. So, as you might know, this is the map Silk Road, which means there are 3 trading posts along the length of the map. Each trade post gives you 0.5 resources per second, and this increases by 1 resources per second at every age, so when all of these players reach classical age, they're going to get 1.5 resources per second, at heroic age 2.5 resources per second, and finally in mythic age 3.5 resources per second. So it's about half a villager or so in the classical age and 1.5 villagers in the... half a villager in the archaic age and 1.5 villagers in the classical age. So it's gonna be most important in the early game, not so much in the late game when players have many villagers and many sources of income, and then suddenly like 1.5 resources per second out of 20 villagers is a lot more than 3.5 resources per second out of 60-80 villagers who have all their economic upgrades and everything. So what we saw happen in the previous 2 games was a pretty vicious rush from the Dark Soul and Skerner. First time with another world passage and Cyclops push, and then with a Cyclops push without the Underworld in Classical Age this time for game 2. And so I suspect that Etruria and Zucht are going to be ready for both a Underworld push and a Classical Age push, so it's going to be interesting to see what's gonna happen this time. The Dark Soul went for a... well, of course he doesn't have Cyclops as Zeus, but he went for Minotaurs now, and Restoration, which should allow him to win a pretty early engagement or something like that. to give him a decisive win at a later point. Or even to help out his friend, his teammate Skerner. We see Zugt's second priest attempting some Aurochs here. It's gonna be an interesting thing. The other notable thing is that, as you may or may not know, you need either units or military buildings to hold a trading post, which is different from a 20 volts or from a healing spring, for which any building will work, including economic buildings or neutral buildings like a house. So we just saw a first fire here from Skerner, which is very much the same as we saw in the previous game. I see potentially a few dead villagers, and potentially not at all. If he is quick enough to pull back to safety before anyone gets killed. I like seeing that new buy trade. It is a dead villager and a military academy that is only gonna come much later. Or that Anubite is somehow stuck into the foundations. I think it jumped on the position of a villager, but then got pushed by the villager's hitbox, kind of like what happened here. And now it's just stuck for a second time, and it's gonna go down, probably. Unless it can jump out in time. But then it's once again a bit stuck. Okay. Now it manages to escape. This beast is about to get pushed off your rocks, that's for sure. There's quite a bit of raiding from Skerner here. So once again, Zugt is... no, it's Zutkosha this time, who is taking a fair bit of damage, although mostly in the form of idle time at the moment. And he's at 21 villagers to Skerner's 21, so it looks like even with a few armory upgrades, he lost a couple villagers potentially.
Yo!
Yes, he had 2 extra dwarves, and he's at the same villain part as Skerner, so he lost 2 villagers somewhere down the line. Unless there was some idle time, possibly. I would expect Zugt and Edgecrusher to feel like they're under quite a lot of pressure, since they are currently 0-2 versus Skerner and the Dark Soul, and so I would expect them to play more carefully this time. And as unlike the previous 2 games, we didn't see any extra down centers. So no 2 TC for Edgecrusher, no 3 TC for Zugt, as he did in game 1. And on the other side, there is also only 1 TC for each of the players. Skerner is making a big push into... now making a big push into Zugt space. And that's going to be quite a few idle villages. Looks like there were not many kills here. Not any kills so far. Observation is dropped down, and this is going to be huge. The snakes also drop down, which are also going to be huge and kind of cancel out the restoration to some extent. As the very least makes it so it's not quite worth to keep fighting under the tower fire and the town center fire. And it looks like now they're just going up to hit Edgecrusher in the face. And there's a few units they can pick up here, which they should pick up. The stars are very exposed and are gonna have to move on. We might see a Draven Mine being forced out in Classical Age. Now we see Edgecrusher's Living Spring, which is not gonna be enough to do much here, maybe buy him a few seconds. And now Zugt is coming around. And at the back of this, the players aren't really doing anything, just 20 again. There's a Spearman raid from Zugt, which is gonna idle half of the Dark Souls economy for a while. And it looks like Edgecrusher was able to push his two opponents slightly out of his base with Zook's help, but it looks to me like they are not doing too well. And now Scanner and the Dark Soul are about to push back into their base again. We might see this town center go down, unless something is done very quickly. There's no Hurricane in sight for any of the players at the moment. I definitely think this town center is going down now. Which is pretty bad since this is X-Crushers only one town center. I think this is GG for Scanner and the Dark Souls team. That is pretty unrecoverable, I think. Although Edgecrusher managed to save pretty much all of his villagers, so... On the other hand, I think both of those guys are just gonna regroup for a second or two, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and then just pressure Zooked. And this probably will be the end of it. 14 villagers on the gold, and it looks like there's another bunch on another gold mine. I think what's going on in Zooked and Edgecrusher's heads at the moment is just trying to give themselves a minute or two to assess the situation and see if they can do anything to get back into the game or not. But they're probably not gonna tap out until they either assess that they can do anything or assess that they can do something, and at that point keep playing. Let's see what's up. Go back to this graph. As expected, the Dark Soul and Skarner's team is way ahead in terms of military pop and military resource value. But in terms of villagers, it's actually to the lead of Zooked and Edgecrusher. And especially since Zooked is getting a few more kills here and there. I think that's a dead villager there. Maybe? Yes, that is one more dead villager. So maybe they are going to be able to buy themselves sometime. Although now they actually have control of the trade boosts. Oh, the score at the moment, Dark Nox is 2-0 for Skarner and the Dark Soul. So this is game point for whoever, like, if Skarner and Dark Soul win this, they go to the Grand Finals, and Zooked and Edgecrusher are eliminated. But if Zooked and Edgecrusher manage to find a win, which looks quite unlikely to me at this point, they would go to game 4. Edgecrusher built back a town center in his corner, which is good to see. He has some wood coming in now as well. He's spending drought instead of gather. But I think this is about to be the end of it. Although... Okay, this was a bit hard to see because the blue is quite close to the purple, but actually Zooked managed to push the other two out, so... Now looking at the in-game scores, which are pretty cool, and especially since Zooked is getting even more villager kills, I think we might see a comeback, which I was not quite believing in, to be honest. This is definitely bad for Skarner to get sandwiched here. I think we're about to see a comeback. Especially since Zooked and Edgecrusher are quite a ways ahead in villagers now, 15, 14. Oh, Zooked had, I don't know for how long he's been having this Overtown center, but he's been having it, and training fields. He's now at 45 villagers to Gunner's 30 and the Dark Souls 33. And Edgecutter actually still at 32. He managed to save most of his villagers throughout that game. And now Edgecutter is gaining back his healing spring and his starting down center, which is gonna be quite nice. And we still see no one going for Heritage, which makes sense, given that the game is actually turning out to be quite close. Dark Soul is taking a back TC. There's a fairly big army of Gunner here, but there's also a bigger army of Edgecutter now, who has still only 2 armory upgrades. I think he just didn't rebuild an armory since the first one got destroyed, and so he didn't quite even think about researching the other techs. And now the military lead is actually starting to be in the favor of Zucht and Edgecutter, which is quite something after the heavy losses they took early on. Dark Soul just got his TC up, and this looks to be a pretty bad fight for Dark Soul and Square. Like Zucht and Edgecutter definitely took like some 40-50 damage of military pop, but Edgecutter and Gunner and the Dark Soul took closer to 60, even 70 with the units were training in the back at the same time, kind of making the number look higher than it was. And now Zucht pushing onto the Dark Soul space and getting even more villager kit. So the 15 villager lead from earlier is now turning into a 30 villager lead. And so they are firmly back into the game and actually doing quite a bit of work now, with quite a desperate situation. Zucht is quite happily doing his thing. He might want to get this relic even if it's just for the... I would like to see an Ox Guard here, Mr. Edgecutter. For the favored trickle rates. And now Zucht is in Heritage. He just got his citadel up on his main base. And now he gets 2.5 resources per second from that trading post. With the very low health on your bite, that's most likely gonna be healed back to full HP, which is gonna be a full 100 full 15 favor value. A little wall there to complete the gap around the houses would not go astray, although most of the action is going right now. That is a big army from Skylar. That counters this army of Edgecutter quite hard. On the other hand, Edgecutter can just retreat behind these walls whenever he wants, and now he's getting his local army up again. Forward Migdol for Zucht, with some hitch towers about to come out. That is a lot of boost. 12 boost. Okay, so pretty much no MIF units are done for the Dark Soul. There's a little bit of fighting here, but not too much. Like, neither of the players is committing to a full-on battle now. Yeah. Although now Zucht is pushing very hard on the Dark Soul. These are very vulnerable villages. Edgecutter could just send a couple raiding cavalry, or maybe even just a few. Well, he doesn't have any berserk or anything, but those are very exposed. So Padaxo lost his main town center. He's now down to a single town center in the back. His base is about to go down entirely. Right? As you said, any units from Padaxo are gonna be killed very quickly by Zooked, and this is exactly what I was thinking of. That little wall there would not have gone astray, would have probably bought him just a few seconds to restore to safety to get his army to the town center. These are a few seconds that could have had a real big amount. This town center looks like it might be about to go down. I'm not sure who's going to be winning this. Like, Extraction is doing a good job of preventing the raiding cab from entering the top of the Throwing Axeman. Well, at least he was for a bit of time with the trolls there. So it looks to me like Edge Crusher is about to be... Okay, so he has quite a few villagers, he still has a huge of a town center, so he's actually not out of his game by any means. But Axel is in a much harder position though. Basically he's only got another 20 villagers there and the rest here. He doesn't have any town centers anymore. Crusher only lost his TC now, which is quite a bit later than I thought it would go down. But Axel has a few villages there and is building a town center now. Although I don't think this is gonna work quite the same as Edge Crusher's comeback. And now Zook is about to hit Skerner's main base with another forward Migdal and a bunch of barracks. And quite a few siege towers now, has 4 of them. There's a couple units. All these villagers are dead pretty much, especially if they kill the Scarab. I don't even think we're gonna see that poison get out. Yep. That is a lot of dead units. And Zook is very much destroying Skerner's main base now. So the Scarab beats Scarab and 95 beats 10-20 villagers, even when they're already damaged. And so it looks like Edge Crusher managed to clean up his situation then. Oh no, so it was actually Skerner sending his whole army back to his base, but way too late sadly. So we are now seeing a 2-1, and so we might see a river sweep, who knows. I would quite like to see that. Yep, it was a very nice comeback indeed. I didn't believe it before I saw it. But I think what made the difference here is that Edge Crusher had pretty much lost no villages, and he had enough resources in the bank to pretty quickly get himself a town center back up. So he basically had only lost army and villager production for a few minutes. So next game is going to be on the Great Wall map. It's going to be probably quite a spammy game, probably quite a long one as well. Though I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I completely forgot to take a look at the post game. Sorry, guys. I just defaulted to playing quit like I do usually in games when I'm playing. I'm gonna go away for a minute or two, and I'm gonna join back probably when the game has started. Got a AFK bio, as they used to say in the 2000s. I am back. And the game has not started yet. Okay. Oh, don't tell me it's gonna bug out like it just did before. I'm just gonna restart the game right away. So you're gonna see a bit of a black screen for a few minutes once again. Hello again. We are now in game 4 of this losers final in the DAG DoD Mixed Teams Tournament. So once again we are faced with the Dark Soul and Skirner playing against Edgecrusher and Zucht. So a bit of a rundown. So we are now 2-1 over Dark Soul and Skirner. Edgecrusher and Zucht were about to lose game 3 but did a quite magnificent comeback that I certainly didn't see coming. And so they won game number 3, and we are now into game number 4, which is on the map Great Wall, with a very big Great Wall in the center. And so this is a basically as... I'm not even sure the word is defensive. I think this is a completely isolated map, so to speak, until someone gets to Heritage and gets either an underworld passage, a rock, to fly some units around, a few flying units. I guess in the classical age there's a Chang-Chi who can fly around, so that's maybe one unit that can get some stuff done in the classical age, but otherwise it's gonna be nothing until Heritage, Mythic Age, or until someone destroys that Great Wall, but with 4000 HP and 95% armor, it's basically gonna take so long that you can get to Heroic pretty safely, probably even to Mythic Age very safely. So long as there's not an Underworld coming or those sorts of things. And so, what I would expect to see here is to some extent either a 2TC Fast Mythic, a 3TC Fast Mythic from either one or all of the players. I would also expect to see potentially a Fast Heroic, completely naked into an Underworld attack or something like that. Possibly just a 2 town center Fast Heroic into something. And so Skana is playing as Frey, so he's been playing Frey, Odin, Frey so far. So this is quite a symmetric choice of gods. The Dark Soul played Hades twice and then Zeus, and now he's going back to his Hades. So not quite as symmetric, although I guess if he picks Hades in game 5, if there is a game 5, that would be a symmetric choice of gods. Zukt played Kronos, and then played Odin, and then played Set, and now he's playing Isis again. Egyptian again. And Edge Pressure has whipped out the Frey for the first time in this series. So, because of the nature of this map with a Great Wall in the middle of the Great Wall map, I think the best sort of an advance that the players can get is a late advance, maybe even as late as 5, maybe even 5:30. And with all the eco upgrades, which it looks like it for sure hasn't been getting. And okay, so Zukt has taken the usual pickaxe that Egyptians like to get early on. I see no upgrade from the Dark Soul. And not from... okay. Skana did get his 2 upgrades. And so the idea is there are many situations where you don't want to get your economic upgrades right away because you might be facing a Kronos or some other civilization that can put on pressure very soon. So you want to prioritize a faster age up, but as established in this map, which is extremely defensive, beyond defensive even, you can just take all the time in the world to age up to classical age and you're gonna be very okay. And so there's pretty much no downside to taking the eco upgrade as soon as you can. Let's have a look at the relics. So this is also an interesting thing about this map. Your opponent cannot pick or steal the relics from your side, and you can't steal them from their side either. So on this side, on Zukt and Edge Crusher's side, we see... well, I haven't seen it yet, but there is Vitoscope Dankang here, which spawns 2 pigs every 150 seconds. At the top we've got Studied Paris Sledge, which removes the favor cost from all fortress-type buildings. Then there is the Pygmalion statue, so plus 40% hit points to villagers. And here Thundercloud Shoal, so human soldiers and heroes have their vulnerability to PS reduced by 5%. We have just seen Edge Crusher age up with Cyclops, with Ares for a 3rd time in this tournament, in this series. Skana is aging up with Ula, as expected. Edge Crusher also is aging up with Ula, so I think we're gonna see quite a spam of Asgardian hill forts near the center. And this is aging up with Bast, so Zukt. So for the relics on the other side of the map, there's quite a bit going on at the moment. With the age ups and everything. So 5 color stones of Nuwa. Building repair cost goes down by 50%, which is completely useless for Frey. So already gets to repair his buildings for free. We've got Hekatis torches, which is going to be very nice for player to recast Asgardian hill forts many more times. With minus 10% recharge time and god power recast cost for god powers. So we see a second TC from the Dark Soul being grabbed right away. We see the same from Edge Crusher, who, even as Norse, can do it quite safely, quite immediately, precisely because of this great wall. Since there's no underworld, since this is too early in the game, since there's no getting sand, there's no danger whatsoever getting this settlement denied. We now see Zucht, who also went for a second town center, who started to bash down the Great Wall with his Sphinx. Gunner, for his part, has only started to put down a hill fort, but otherwise did not do anything in terms of getting a second town center. For now, we don't see anyone preparing to go Hurricane, or at least no one pre-queued it yet. I think I missed a relic somewhere, but it might already have been in a temple. Okay, so on the Dark Souls side, there was also the Adamantine Shingles, which gives plus 200 hit points to houses and plus 100 hit points to manors, and has just half, which reduces the train time of villagers by 5%, which is a weird number in this patch where villagers train in 18 seconds or 36 seconds. I guess it's easier to calculate for Atlantean now. Is it only gonna be 25 seconds? Well, 30 seconds, no, not 25. Which is interesting to see Edge Crusher just put down his hill fort there and just let it build itself. Because, once again, it cannot be denied early on, so he might as well be busy doing something with his other units. Oh, I see Skerner going for the Yedalier technology, which is gonna give him access to Ethical Age battering rams. The thing with this Great Wall is it has 95% crush armor, as well as 95% hack armor and pierce armor, so like whose portable rams are definitely gonna be doing some damage. It's like 50 hack, 5 hack, 50 crush, so that's 55 damage total. And it's gonna be 5% of that, which is gonna be about 2.5 damage. 2.55 or something. Or 2.525 to 5. So basically it's not really doing anything to those walls. Just like those guys are not really gonna be doing anything. And if anything, the Berserk with a much faster attack speed of 0.7 seconds per hit compared to the portable runs. Okay, it's 1 per hit. So the portable rams do have a fair bit more DPS. And as you can see, the Sphinx has been bashing down on that wall for quite some time already. And it's only down, it's going down the 1 hit point per hit or so. So Edge Crusher is now on 3 TCs. And I think Gunner, who is on 1 TC so far, and the Dark Soul on 2 TC are gonna regret not getting a bit more eco. Although, yes, they were indeed preparing an underworld sort of stuff. So we're gonna see what happens now. I'm quite curious to see the line of sight that the Dark Soul has, sending a Pegasus. He's gonna try to find a spot to drop down, although just has no idea what's going on this side, so he's gonna have to search for a good spot before just getting his line of sight there. Oh, and it gets shut down by... That's actually quite lucky of that priest to be there. And this is also the sort of thing where, with how much we like 3 TCs and stuff, not 3 TCs for Zucht as well, it's been enough time now that they might have very well have enough resources to just keep up after an underworld sort of push, so I wouldn't actually bank on the underworld push working in the Dark Souls favor, against the Gunner's favor. Although the armies are quite huge and quite scary. In terms of military pop, we can indeed see that the Dark Soul and Gunner are quite ahead, although in terms of villagers, as I said, they are quite ways behind. Okay. I think this TC is still going up. It very much is. It's gonna go down pretty instantly. But it's gonna dish out a bit of damage with arrows in the meantime. And this is a sort of underworld passage that is not gonna give them a win right away. So that was, yes, 550 gold and maybe a couple villagers killed there and a bunch of idle time, but that's about the damage that's been done so far. And now that gave Crusher and Slooked quite a bit of time to prepare and defend. Edge Crusher is gonna have his A gear after this fight, sadly, but he still has a Bullion Bursty indeed. And we have Ancestor's Eclipse from Zook. And have Edge Crushers and Bullion Bursty now. So even if this second Town Center goes down, I think this is not going to go too well for the Dark Soul and Skirner. You can see in terms of military pop at the moment, Edge Crusher and Zook had just enough time to catch up at least in part, and now the losses seem to be kind of equal on both sides for now. So while that is indeed a lot of damage done on Zooked, so Edge Crusher is still ahead now as a Tempest being dropped. I think this is very much playing into the hands of Zook and Edge Crusher's boom that this underworld passage has happened. I think the Dark Soul and Skirner are gonna regret this. On the other hand, they're gonna have quite a bit of time to get ready and figure something out before Zooked and Edge Crusher can come across. So there's some positivity there, I suppose. But we have villager lead of 15 now for Edge Crusher and Zooked. That is actually still increasing because there's more town centers for their team. And they are now way ahead in military as well. I would expect and that's another few villagers dead for the Dark Soul. But the unusual thing is that well, this would usually be a game-ending fight. That would pretty much mean that the Dark Soul and Skirner are dead now. Because of a Great Wall that is in the center of this map, we actually have probably 8, maybe 10 minutes to figure something out. So the Dark Soul is now getting a third TC. I suppose Skirner is gonna try to get a second and third TC of his own at some point. Although I'm not sure how much military he's got. I think it's quite that much. Yep, he's about to build that TC there. Hello, all Petroli from the chat. If we take a look back on this side. Yeah, okay, so Skirner is now suffering from his lack of grabbing another TC, and he's very much behind in eco, still stuck in the classical age, doesn't have really any resources to age up, not very much at least. Now he's dropping his other 2 TCs. And on this side, Edge Crusher and Zooked are really starting to pile onto those walls. So it was about 15 minutes now. The wall is down at quarter of its HP. And of course it's been bashed down by that Sphinx since the very start, so I would expect maybe another 4 minutes, 3 minutes. We shall see how long it takes. Zooked is now taking his third TC again, and this time it won't be denied by anyone. The military is equalizing. It looks like Zooked and Edge Crusher are gonna be full pop in some time. And then Skirner and the Dark Soul might be able to catch up, but I think where they're going to be behind on by the time this wall gets destroyed is going to be upgrade. Yes, he's kind of already behind in upgrades. Prayer, not quite yet. But that's also because Prayer gets upgrades for half as much money. And at this point in the game, with this army on that side, I don't think those two fortresses are going to be enough to prevent them from pushing in. Although this army might be able to get something done. So Skirner is definitely going to have his Tempest ready by the time this Great Hall gets destroyed. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Zooked or Edgecrusher go to Mythic Age at some point. Well, Edgecrusher could just buy himself Mythic Age at the moment. Oh, okay, never mind. He's already been aging up for 60 seconds or so. And he could just trade resources in the market and just send them to Zooked, so that Zook can buy himself the Mythic Age. What we can see here is an early trade route, which makes a lot of sense on this map, since you've got so much time to prepare anyway. You're never going to be caught off guard, besides maybe another well passage, but as we've seen, that's not the end-all be-all of this map and its meta, and so it's that much more eco on top of 3 TCs that you can get quite early on. And here we see that neither Zook nor neither the Axel nor Skirner has any trade, and so Edgecrusher and Zook are going to be way ahead, even more so than before. Even if a villager lead is closing in, that trade out just means that there's a much bigger eco lead happening at the moment. Edgecrusher is now in Mythic Age, and I would not bet on this army anymore when there's Vida and an Inferno about to come down on them. I wouldn't bet on those fortresses either.
Gary. Into you. Gary.
That was maybe a bit bold to send the villagers first and the army second. Okay, so this is Skirner's Tempest now. I think it is quite wise to pull back. I think I'm going on this side rather than on this side. That was ready to go before the fight, that have been quite nice. You could have carried some of the units to limit the damage from the Tempest, and it would also be dealing quite a bit of damage to the Dark Soul and Skirner's unit. And I think we see the perfect Inferno there to just start it around here, tell it to go there, and these units basically cannot retreat. And maybe you can start it here and then make it end there, and those units that are in the middle, even if they go to the sides, they will have to go all the way around, and I think it's going to be just enough time that they can quite escape. But I'm not surprised to see Zooked and Edgecrusher push back now that the Tempest is out, even without the Inferno, because they have bigger armies, they have a bigger tech. I just think that maybe this Inferno would still have been nice, because let's imagine there was the Inferno and the fight was over there, they would already be taking down the fortresses now. That is 300 gold for Skirner. We still do not see a trade route from either of those two guys. And that is not too much damage done, but those 3 fortresses being taken down about half HP on average is going to be quite huge to take them down in the wake of that. So now, the Zooked are behind in military. I would suspect that's because all the fortresses have been doing quite a lot of damage. I still think that playing that army with Inferno and then having all the room in the world to destroy the fortresses might have been the better call. We shall see. I expect Zooked is about to finish edging up with top, so either this is all gonna die, or this is gonna... The army might be destroyed soon. This gunner is nowhere near hitting up for the moment. So where are we gonna see that meteor? While there is this stalemate at the moment in the center, I still think that Edgepressure and Zook are way ahead of the other ones, especially because they have a trade route. And that is just so much more eco, but you do not see in this graph, but it is bar graph of sorts that shows the villager differential. That is essentially 38 villagers that Dark Soul and Skirner just do not have. This rest is kind of both a curse and a blessing, because it's a blessing because the enemy cannot just run through it, and it's a bit of a curse because you can't build skill forts and towers right there. So it's like an impassable defense when it's a static defense that doesn't do any damage. So both a curse and a blessing. I quite like seeing this from ISIS, so that means no god powers in this area. It was empowered by the Pharaoh that Radius would go all the way over here. So that would be quite a bit stronger, even then. And I like this Ballista spam. The Ballista do a ton of pierce damage, and when they are massed like that, I can crush armies like Tilting's gun, and we also happen to have 30 range. So basically nothing can approach this Ballista. Except maybe a Titan, but it would still take an enormous amount of damage. And there's this wall in the middle as well. So even a Titan would be somewhat ineffective, at least while it's approaching. It would be a huge commitment of a Titan to have to get anything done there. And if there's never enough ballistas, you just make another kill port, and you just make more ballistas. So, while Skirner and the Dark Soul are going to be behind in economy now, that is a beautiful meteor. That is a beautiful meteor. What I was about to say is that although the Dark Soul and Skirner are going to be behind in eco by quite a lot, what's going to be to their advantage is that they're going to have more pop available for army than Zook and Edgecrusher. Precisely because there's all this trade on the other side. And that said, there is ISIS's bonus in pop from each down center, +5, which is gonna sort of mitigate this. And now we see Zook starting to build some towers. That is a very desperate earthquake. Very desperate earthquake. It just about destroys the monument there. And I like that now there's a second hole in this wall, and I can just move out and do stuff on this side. I think it's just too super fast, and bodies are gonna be enough to kill enough of these villagers to make a difference. Especially or not while there's Pascal roaming about. Did any other players grab Adam's defenses yet? Yes, Zook has grabbed it. The Dark Soul haven't had enough eco to do so yet. Edgecrusher definitely has it too, and so this is the sort of stuff that they get to do with their economy lead. And Skirner is still in the... still stuck in the... oh no, he's edging up to Vidar as well. And now Edgecrusher with that bonus eco that he's got from the trade is also way ahead of the others and just gets a Titan out. Because of course he can. I think the Dark Soul and Skirner. So I would be in a much better position if they just started to build markets at the same time as they built their other town centers after the underworld push was beaten or countered. And now they would have a very similar economy. But they just didn't pick up the markets and now they are paying for it. And I think that once Zukt and Etrusha get this position, which they kind of already have, but once it's secured, they're just not gonna be pushed off. And this wall, like this trees, is gonna do the same thing. It's gonna be an impossible defense that Skana and the Dark Soul just cannot push through. Then boost Peltas are not gonna fare well versus a Titan. 100 gold for Zukt. I want to see that Titan on those Peltas. There we go. Ouch. Look at those health bars. Boom. That is not the best target for a Titan. That's better. And now with this town center, I think the maximum pop of the... Well, it was already ahead in the favor of Zukt and Edgecrusher, but now it's well and truly ahead compared to Zukt and to the Dark Soul and Skirner, so... Even with the caravans, the military armies are gonna be about the same size. Well, it's just cool info, Stevie. Oh, there. On the Titan, which makes sense. Oop, is not getting his Titan now. I would like... When there's that big of an army attacking my Titan, what I like to do is just run around the map, but it dies much slower, and so at this army is supposed to follow it and get out of the way. And I just stop to smash like 10 villagers like that, and it's basically one shot on 10 villagers. And so this is a much better thing to do than just make damage and not do much damage in return. I'm now expecting the Dark Soul and Skirner to resign at any moment. Quite amazing to see that Skirner doesn't even have his watchtowers now. So we are gonna go into a game fight.
Tilbury.
54 per trade. That doesn't sound right. Oh, they're going to this TC. Yeah, Zukt might have been much better off putting a market there. And trading with his own TC. He might have gotten about 150 gold or so. And so this is GG for Edgecrusher and Zukt. Edgecrusher was just starting a wonder of all things. So let's take a look at the stats, which are gonna be quite filled with stuff. That is a lot of units lost, and that is a lot of units killed. That is quite a big army. Although the Dark Soul can say that he gets a Titan killing him. So looking at the graphs, I think that Underworld push was about... Well, when was it? Tempest, Barricade, Colin Bosti... Okay, there was the Underworld. So Skirner's army just plummeted when there was nothing. The Dark Soul didn't have too much of an army, but it also kind of plummeted and died. Whereas during all that time, Zook and Edge Crusher's armies just kept on going up. And then there was all of this that we saw. Like all this fighting in the center. Civilian units. Yeah, that is what happened. The Zook had 150, so like 50 caravans or so by the end. Edge Crusher was about 20 caravans ahead as well by the end. And Skirner and the Dark Soul just were not. And so, like, if we even go back to this underworld passage around here, so Skirner was already behind everyone in terms of villager count. Zook lost quite a few during that initial attack, but like, that was only like about 9, and then he just kept going back up with 2 town centers and then a third one. The Dark Souls villager count kind of went up steady until 100, but it plateaued there instead of going up with caravans. Yeah, okay, I know what happened there. So it's not actually that Edge lost any villagers, it's that he converted quite a few into berserks to build the diving gate in the back of his base. So he was sort of behind on eco, but on his own terms, you could say. And then Zook just kept getting ahead of everyone in eco. If you take a look at all resources collected, Edge Crusher was actually far ahead of Zook. I guess that might be because Zook had most of his caravans and villages later on, because he was later to get his third town center. And then when he got it, it got destroyed immediately, and then he had to rebuild it after losing a few villagers in the meantime. And he got idle quite a lot during that attack as well, so that probably explains why after that underworld passage it took him quite a while to get back up in terms of resources collected. The Dark Soul actually did manage to do quite a bit of staying up to date, so to speak. But of course, Skirner just was so far behind. Okay, so let's take a look at those stats now. So this is what we expected to see here. Edge might have had more than 120 civilian pop at some point. But like hidden with the berserks, the stats are weird. The game just kind of calculates them weirdly sometimes. So yeah, not only were Skirner and the Dark Soul way behind in eco, they just traded so badly throughout the game, especially through the second half of the game. And they lost more villagers by the end as well. And they lost more buildings. Although that was 231 hoplites by the end, so quite a lot of hoplites. Yeah, that's about it. Okay. On to game 5. Okay, so we're now waiting for players to start the game. Please do not bug out, game. Please do not bug out. It's nice to have a bit of quiet without all the music in the ears for a bit. Allows my brain to calm down, and I feel like that. Yes, I can cast a 5th game. I'm gonna have to reboot the game once again, I think. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Welcome to game 5 of this DoD DAG Mixed Teams Tournament of the losers finals. So we started with a 2-0, which looked like it would be a sweep, but then our contenders Zooked and Edge Crusher made quite an unexpected comeback and took game number 3 and then game number 4. And so we are now on not only match point but series points. And whoever wins this game ends up in the finals, which are also going to be happening a bit later today. So our 5th map was going to be one of 3 maps selected at random between Qinghai Lake, as you can see here, Peach Blossom Spring, and Yellow River. So it happened to be Qinghai Lake, and so there is quite a bit of fish in this map. And I am only seeing 2 players going for fish right now, which is okay. Edge Crusher is going for his fish as well. And maybe the Dark Soul will go for fish someday. Well, we only see a fishing ship now. I think the Dark Soul might regret not having a dock up already. The water economy just goes up very quickly, and if you don't take your control of the water by like 4 or 5 minutes, even on this map, I think you're gonna be pretty dead. But maybe he's got an ace up his sleeve that I just don't know about. I hope so. We should take a look at the relics on the map. I just need to find them on the minimap. There we go with Pandora's Box. If units cost 15% less favor. We have this one in the back, the Svadil Sledge. The cost of fortress buildings, well, they cost no favor anymore. The Jade Hair increases the movement speed of myth units by 5%. The Kifara of Apollo increases the movement speed of villagers by 10%. The Scarab Pendant increases the crush damage of siege units and of Behemoths, Scarabs, Taowu, Mountain Giant, and Colossus by 20%. And Hestia's Harp increases the train time of decreases the train time of villagers by 5%. And then, so at the center of the Qinghai Lake, we've got a shrine that generates 0.1 favor per second to whoever controls this. And it looks like none of the players here know about this map, because nobody even went to claim it. And there's also quite a few relics at the center there, so we get the Quidrum, which increases the damage of heroes by 0.25% per 1% hit point lost. So if we do a quick bit of math, at 50% HP remaining, the unit would have an additional 12.5% damage per hit. We have Jirong, which increases the regeneration rate of walls by 10 HP per second, which makes walls quite tanky and you basically don't need to repair them ever. We get the Feather of Baifeng, which increases the human soldiers' damage versus buildings by a multiplier of 1.2. So it's like it adds 0.2 to the multiplier of base, which is 1. And then we've got the Bow of Artemis, which decreases the cost of wood and gold of ranged soldiers, ballista, and ranged myth units. I see that the Dark Soldiers don't want to go fishing, so yeah, as I said, he might regret that, who knows? He might not, maybe I'm gonna be surprised. The game 3 was definitely a surprise I didn't see coming, so maybe Scanner and the Dark Soul can do a similar comeback, now that we've lost these last 2 games. Okay, so let's go over the gods once again. So the Dark Soul is playing Hades once more, so he's been playing Hades 4 times this series so far, and so it was Hades, Hades, Zeus, Hades, Hades, so I'm quite happy to see the symmetry there. Scanner went for Odin once again. Edgecrusher is now playing Zeus, which is a bit unexpected, and Zukt is playing Gaia, which is expected. He's back to his Attic. And I just don't think there's gonna be much fighting going on for the water. Not because there shouldn't be, but because there won't be. Edgecrusher is just scouting at the moment, and seeing that there's not too much going on. Zukt has a fishing ship on the way there. They probably have guessed now that there's not very many docks on the map. I suspect there might be some sort of an underworld or big rush sort of thing going to happen. Although this is a water map, it's just not gonna work, in my opinion. Having played water with the current meta, especially in a team game, you would need to do tremendous amounts of damage and have an equal to the kid up afterwards to find a win without going water. So, gonna use his favorite god power of the evening, which is Forest Fire. So this Care Forest is burning down. Because we don't like trees, we don't like dragons, we just kill them and burn them. Because it makes more CO2, so the other trees can grow better, and so it's actually the ecological thing to burn down forests. In a way. And yeah, there's basically no contention for water from Gunnar and the Dark Soul. And I will refrain from making a call on who wins this game or not.
Skopos.
I suppose the idea of this dock was this is a bait so that they overcommit on water. But I don't think such a thing as overcommitting on water is possible on this patch, especially if it's a team game and there's 2 of you going for water. So there's only half as much of you committing to some extent. Let's take a look at the military pop. So, not too surprising, Zooked and Edgecrusher are behind by about half compared to Skunner and the Dark Soul. But in terms of villagers, they are way ahead because the fishing ships, even though they don't appear here, do bring a lot of eco. That's a nice bolt there to see on those other Cyclops. I would like to see that Achilles shoot down those Calabrian. And that town center looks like it's gonna go down to me. But I see that Zooked is just family and is free going away. And he might be putting down a... Well, I don't know if he has that few wooden gold because he put down a TZ somewhere. He's about to start, which doesn't look to be the case, so... Maybe he just spent it on something else on boats, probably. And Skunner has the control of that triumph. Now I think what's gonna happen is that Zooked and Edgecrusher are gonna prioritize their land army, and they have much more eco to get that going. And so by the time Skunner and the Dark Soul are done with this space, it's gonna be an even fight at minimum. If you go back to Skunner and the Dark Soul, they did not go for another town center or anything, so this is a complete all-in. And basically every unit lost there is not really gonna be replaced. Does that make sense? In a manner of speaking. And Zooked and Edgecrusher wisely stayed on 1 TC. I think they would have been in much more trouble if they committed to a second TC at this earlier in the game or even at this point. Although, I guess Zooked is on 0 TC at the moment. Like, I think there is such a thing as overcommitting on land and on water. Especially if you do so before you win the water. But I don't think this is what we've seen so far. This is a very nice drop point. Or kind of both of them actually. Even also for and the Dark Soul with the Puxatis in the background. I think this might be the right call of Zooked to not produce any more units, to produce more units and not get for another town center. Because that would put quite a dent into his gold income, as well as his everything income, because he's building... Okay, he's going for a town center now, but that's still after having produced all of that army, which is a pretty hefty amount. So that was the correct way to go, I think. Get the town center up after. Yeah. And now we are, as I said, about equalized on military. Well, not quite, but you get the point. Where I was going earlier. This is a dead Cyclops, even with that restoration. What type of Cyclops doing? And now the military is pretty much equalized. And now I think the Dark Soul and Skunner are gonna be losing more than they're gonna kill. They're now being pushed back here. And these guys are just dead. And those Cyclops cost a lot of resources. Like, if you are fishing for food on a water map, it's not gonna be very much food. Certainly way less of an investment than in a regular game. But if you're not fishing... And I would expect them to be behind on take by now as well. Well, Edgecrusher doesn't have his armor upgrades quite yet.
Air Juice.
Zook doesn't either. But this is more expected of Zook since he lost that PC very early on. Okay. So I hope this illustrates what I meant by you cannot overcome it on water. Current straight up again. Although that is a TC that's gonna be denied. It appears that Zook and Edgecrusher are behind in villages, but just as a reminder, there's 15 fishing ships for Zook and another 10 for Edgecrusher. I suspect both of them have burst sign by now. Oh, Edgecrusher doesn't have burst sign. Should definitely get that at the moment. That is a significant amount of idle time. We see the Dark Soul going for a second TC now. Skirner isn't. There's still this fight going on here, which is gonna go one way. And that distance center is going up. And it won't be denied. And so that is sort of the correct play on water, is to take control of the water and then get some town centers of your own so that your opponent just cannot pull off a 3TC comeback. And in this case, they were smart enough to not go for a town center right away, as they were getting the first base completely destroyed. And so, actually got the best of both worlds, I would say. So now Zook is back on 2 town centers. Edgecrusher is also on 2 town centers. The Dark Soul is 2 town centers, and Skirner has only the 1 town center. Rico is still way ahead in favor of Zook and Edgecrusher. Although I wouldn't be surprised to see Skirner go for a town center pretty soon with that macro. Maybe even 2. Although I don't think he can afford it anymore. Just needs to make units. There's a 1 citizen of Zook getting shanked to death.
Yo.
Zook is getting a 3rd town center now. So if you take a look at the military spot, it's way in favor of Zook and Edgecrusher now. Zook has got his armory upgrades coming now. Area still doesn't have any armory upgrades. Neither does the Dark Soul. And Edgecrusher has 2 of his 3 armory upgrades. Copper upgrades at least. Although this fight didn't go too well for Zook and Edgecrusher, and now the military populations are about equal. And they're forced to retreat. I think what Zook and Edgecrusher need is go to Hurricane, which Zook is going with Leia and Edgecrusher with Apollo now. So I think Zook is about Edgecrusher and Zook are about to turn the tables on the underworld play. Zook is now on 4 town centers, because there's never enough, of course, and neither Skirner nor Edgecrusher nor Dark Soul are about to age up, not even close. I don't think this is a fight that the Dark Soul and Skirner can afford to take, especially not with low health units. Hello, Ethan from the chat. Hope you're having a good evening and that you're enjoying the stream. The distance after is gonna go down. The villager lead is back in the favor of Zook and Edge Crusher, even discounting the fishing ships. Did Edge Crusher get his person? Yes, he did. They should both get Sultan Farah by now. If they think they have the resources to spare. Yeah, they do. I have to say, Fiona and Rodactyl have done a surprisingly good job of keeping up so far, although I think this is about to end. This count so far is most likely going down as well. I don't see that being stopped. I do see whose villagers being stopped in their tracks. Ghana is now down to 30 villagers to the Dark Souls 72. Edge Crusher's 53 and Zook's 80 of 40 citizens, which is 80 civilian pop. Crusher has gotten up a 30 now. That is a very strong horse and rider. Okay, now is Edge Crusher's underworld passage. The defensive use of it, which is gonna turn the tide on the tide. And there's a restoration from Edge Crusher coming in as well. Neither Skirner nor Godar Soul are gonna approach the Henry Cage. That is a very dead Catascopus. And this is 2 armies retreating. And so now there's some Cotaius mixed in, so that's a chain of units from Zook, now that he's in Henry Cage. The Dark Soul has actually taken that TC and Fiona is about to take this one, so they are attempting to get that on equal in some way, shape or form. They are definitely buying some time. Fiona's main base is being sieged. Or is it even a siege at this point? It's just enemy space killing villagers. I guess it's not a siege anymore, it's an invasion. That is a choke point indeed. Yeah. Well, of course he's not gonna have Heritage upgrades, never mind. Oh. Are we seeing any... Oh, yeah, Sultan Farah.
Yuji.
Yeah, here as well. And this is our victory for Zook and Edge Crusher, who did quite an impressive reverse sweep after winning, well, losing 0-2 at first, and then, because this is a best of 5, having a chance to win game 3, which they did, then winning game 4, which they did, and now they just won game 5. So they are the winners of the losers final and are gonna face the winners of the winners bracket, which are Isomato and I. And so we're gonna be taking a little bit of a break, 10-20 minutes or something, so that everyone can have a bit of a rest, so that I can have a bit of a rest after casting those 5 games. And we're gonna be back for the finals, the grand finals. I'm gonna take a look at the post game right after saying my farewells, so to speak. And so the grand finals are gonna be live as well, but since I'm gonna be playing, I will stream my point of view with 3 minutes of delay and no commentary, just so you guys know. And so, on to the stats now. Not too much to see right there. In terms of military resource values, When was the underworld used? Okay, so... No, there was no underworld, never mind. There was this assault with pestilence at first. And so it's interesting to see how Skirner and the Dark Soul just didn't lose any units there. Zook lost a few, but then pulled back and sacked his town center, which was the right call. Up until several minutes later, when the first restoration was dropped down, and then the Dark Soul's army just died. Skirner's army held on for a bit, but then as the fighting continued, it kept crumbling, most likely because it had a bunch of low health units. And then it's about what we saw. Actually, not too many losses on either side, up until the very final 2 or 3 battles, where Skirner dipped beyond any potential for recovery, and then with the Dark Soul a bit later. Zook lost quite a few units as well, but had the economy to produce 4 or 5 times as much. So this is what we saw with the TC. Zook was at 0 TC for a good 3 minutes. 3 minutes, 10 seconds or so. He was still the first one. I guess because I spent so much time in Classical Age, he had, because he's gay and he gets access to his Heritage economic upgrades, he had his economic upgrades from the Heritage all the way through the game, plus the fishing ships, and he had plus sign on the ships for much longer than Age Crusher did. And so that explains why he was so far ahead in resources by the end. It's actually funny because even after losing his town center, he was ahead in resources and stayed ahead in resources, and if anything, only kept increasing his lead in resources. And unsurprisingly, he had collected the most food, the most wood, the most gold, not quite the most favor. And they both were up to 18 fishing ships, Zook and Edge Crusher. In terms of military, Edge Crusher had the biggest army, had the most kills, although Zook is not far behind. Edge Crusher killed a hefty 38 villagers, which by himself alone is more villagers than both Skirner and the Dark Soul killed together. And then there's Zook who killed another 7. The Dark Soul did manage to raise 17 buildings, plus Skirner's 8, that is a total of 25, versus 19 for Zook and Edge Crusher combined. That is quite a lot of Toxotai, by the way, for the Dark Soul. Nobody got to Mythic Age, and neither Skirner nor the Dark Soul got to Heroic Age. And Zook did for a bit of time have 4 settlements. I wonder how much favor a Cyclops costs, because 20 Cyclops for the entirety of the game is quite a lot of Cyclops. I would like to find a Cyclops. 18 favor times 20 Cyclops is 360 favor, which checks out with the resource, the favor of 460 something he collected. So this is about it for game 5. I'm gonna leave you now and come back in a bit. I wish everyone, well, I was about to say good evening, but I suppose quite a few of you are gonna stay for the grand finals, so have a good break and then have a good watching experience for the grand finals. And thank